All right, welcome everyone to this informational webinar about the ArchivesSpace Member Match Program. I'm Jessica Crouch, the Community Engagement Coordinator for ArchivesSpace, and I'm joined today by members of the ArchivesSpace User Advisory Council's Member Engagement Subteam, the team responsible for the creation and management of this great new program. This informational webinar will provide background information on the ArchivesSpace Member Match Program. Member Match is a new initiative to provide resources and a venue for peer-to-peer support between ArchivesSpace members. For 1 year-long term, participants will be matched with a member with whom they can receive and offer professional insight, advice, and camaraderie. The program will also offer participants the opportunity to engage in exclusive events and enlightening discussion about ArchivesSpace and its active user community. For those of you who have been with ArchivesSpace or been ArchivesSpace members for several years, you may remember the ArchivesSpace Implementation Buddies program launched in 2018. The Member Match program is designed as a replacement of that program, but continues Implementation Buddies' goal of bringing community members together to solve common problems and engage in open community discussion. Members of the Member Engagement Subteam joining me today are, in the order that they will be presenting, Ashley Knox, Brittany Newberry, Bailey Hoffner, and Regina Cara. Ashley Knox is the Digital Initiatives Librarian at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. She facilitates ArchivesSpace and works closely with her colleagues at the Center for Southeast North Carolina Archives and History at Randall Library. Brittany Newberry is a processing archivist at the Atlanta University Center Robert W. Woodruff Library, as well as the chair of the ArchivesSpace User Advisory Council and an ArchivesSpace trainer. Brittany does everything. At the AUC, Brittany manages the archives use of ArchivesSpace. Bailey Hoffner is the Metadata and Collections Management Archivist at the University of Oklahoma Libraries. She currently leads the ArchivesSpace Implementation Working Group at OU. Regina Cara is the Rappaport Archivist at the American Folk Art Museum. As the lone archivist at the museum, she manages the acquisition, preservation, processing, and access of the museum's institutional records and archive special collections. We'll be moving through the presentations quickly to leave plenty of time for discussion at the end. So we're going to hold all questions until the Q&A session at the end, though if you think of a question during the session, please feel free to type it into the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen at any time. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Ashley.
Thanks, Jessica. To give you all a little bit of background and some purpose about the Member Match program, it's a new initiative meant to engage the ArchivesSpace membership community. It's intended to be a resource and venue for peer-to-peer support between ArchivesSpace members. And essentially for 1 year-long term, participants will be matched with a member with whom they can receive and offer professional insight, advice, and camaraderie. And participants will also have the opportunity to engage in exclusive events and discuss ArchivesSpace with its active user community. And as was mentioned before, this is brought to you by the Membership Engagement Subteam of the ArchivesSpace User Advisory Council, and with tons and tons of support from the ArchivesSpace Community Engagement Coordinator, Jessica Crouch.
Next slide, please. So I'm going to go over the responsibilities for participants. These are our expectations of you as matches. So we expect that all communication will take place virtually. So there's no expectation of you guys meeting in person unless you live in close proximity to each other or are going to the same conference. But those in-person meetings are up to you and up to CDC guidelines. Safety, we would prefer everyone to remain safe during this time. Matches will conduct an initial meeting to lay the groundwork for the relationship. So this will be your first meeting, and we hope for it to occur after you've been matched and before the first event that we plan to have between the cohort. This is just for you to get to know each other, discuss what you want to talk about during these meetings and how often you want to meet. You will determine a workable schedule for yourself, and it's based on your availability, interests, and capacity to meet. And we will do our best to match people who have similar like schedules or similar interests in meeting monthly, weekly, that kind of thing. We encourage matches to encourage each other to participate in ArchivesSpace member activities, such as councils, workshops, forums, anything that ArchivesSpace really offers. We want you guys to encourage each other to participate in. You will be providing feedback and guidance regarding strategies, workflows, troubleshooting, and other application-related topics. So questions on how do you use digital objects, how to use locations, that kind of thing. Like you'll help each other and point out resources for each other. We are hoping that you will be transparent and open in communication, trustworthy and confidential when necessary. You do not have to tell the member engagement subteam what you discussed during your meetings. They can remain confidential between the two of you. So you don't have to worry about that during your meetings, but we hope that you will be open with each other. You will agree to the ArchivesSpace Code of Conduct, which is available through the ArchivesSpace website and wiki. And you will agree to notify the member engagement subteam of any problems or if you need to leave the program before the end of the one-year term. And you will try to attend as many scheduled member match events as possible, but you are not required to attend them. We're just encouraging you to do so. And even though this is a one-year term, you have every right to continue this relationship afterwards. So feel free to do so after the one-year term, but that is not a requirement. And I'll turn it over to Bailey now to talk about how to apply.
Thanks, Brittany. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the application process and kind of our thinking as we're going to be making the matches, and also just try to clarify a few of the things we've already touched on a little bit. So that first one there is really important. Anybody at a member organization can apply. So it doesn't matter if there are already 2 or 3 people at your organization that have applied. Any single person can be matched with another person. So that's pretty cool. It's really open. We want people, we recognize that there are going to be different things that different people with different roles in the application are going to be looking for in their matches. It's also really important to us that these the matches are seen as mutually enriching, right? So this has been touched on, but we didn't necessarily want to set this up as a mentor-mentee relationship as much as something where we recognize that everyone, no matter their level, their skill level or experience, has things to bring to the table to share and help one another through this process, through being matched with other members. And so, you know, it may be that once you are matched, you and your match determine that you do want to do more of a mentor-mentee situation. We just wanted to leave it open and to really encourage that kind of mutual enrichment. The application is going to open in mid-March, which is coming up really soon, and it'll be available on the Member Match Program page. Feel free to screenshot that little link for ease of access. The reason we did that is because we wanted to make sure that after this webinar, in case there were any things that we aren't considering that you all would like us to consider, we really would like to hear that feedback. So whether it's today or something you think of later and want to contact us in the next few days, if there's anything you think we've missed, please let us know, because we're still open to adding things to the application process. With that, some of the things that we are considering: institution, size of institution, also your work environment. So you might be at a large institution, but actually be in a really small group or even a lone arranger situation. So we're trying to really consider all of those different things. We're also going to be looking at areas of expertise within ArchivesSpace, and also any technical expertise that is sort of adjacent to ArchivesSpace that might be useful in other things people are wanting to learn, and the roles that you play in ArchivesSpace. Additionally, we're going to look at interests, both what you're interested in learning more about or areas you're interested in growing in. but also personal interests. If you have particular hobbies, there's a section where you'll be able to indicate, I really like gardening and knitting and cooking. And so I might list those things, and it might just be that we're able to find a really great match who also has some mutual interests. We really are hoping to make these matches in a way that will be sustainable for you and give you lots of things to want to engage each other on. Frequency of communication is another thing. Some people might want to be in touch really regularly, some people really infrequently. So that's something that you can begin to indicate, even though that's something you'll work out more specifically once you're matched. And then finally, we have some optional identity questions. So these are open-ended questions. Essentially, I am blank, I am looking for blank, that allow you to indicate if there is something about your own identity that you would like to see in your match to help you feel more comfortable in any way. There are options for that as well. And then you can indicate even further whether or not you are still open to a match, even if we can't match you on those optional identity questions. Our priorities, as we're looking through these, we're trying to prioritize a lot of different things. So depending on the number of applications that we get, kind of our first priority will be those optional identity questions. But then we're also going to be working through all of the other things that that I've kind of mentioned. And so if you have any questions or specific thoughts about what would be really important for us to prioritize, please let us know that. And just finally, please, there are some sections in the application where you can really kind of type things out about what your interests are and what you're wanting to learn. Take advantage of that, because if we have good information about what you're looking for, that's going to help us that much more to get you matched. And now I will pass it over.
All right, before we close out with some questions, just a schedule of events. As Bailey mentioned, we're going to be begin accepting applications soon. I think we're trying for a March 17th launch date, so be on the lookout for that. We're hoping for a deadline for the applications April 30th. So you have plenty of time to fill out the application form. And then just to give you some, oh yes, and if you're interested in hearing us talk again about this program, or you want to forward this information to another ArchivesSpace buddy, we're going to be speaking about the Member Match program at the annual online forum on March 30th at 3:15 p.m. So if you haven't signed up for the annual forum, definitely sign up. If you are signed up, come to our webinar, or encourage a friend to come as well. The bottom of the slide is just a timeline of member match program activities for the next year. So when you apply to the program, you can expect to hear back from us in June about your match. And then the year cohort begins in July. And then our expectation is that you would make some kind of first initial contact with your member match by the ArchivesSpace annual member forum. That would be when we would have our first member match activity as a group, as a program. And then for the rest of the year, we are planning, we have some ideas for member match specific activities such as coffee chats, or maybe more casual chats with other sub-teams of the User Advisory Council. And also you'd be meeting by yourselves with your match between September and June. And then, if you find out that maybe this year isn't the best year for you to do member match, look out for our announcements for a new cohort this time next year. We hope this will be an annual program that the member sub-team can sustain. So we're very excited to launch this program this year and for the years to come. And with that, we can open up for questions.
All right. Thank you, everyone. This is really exciting. And I do want to point out that this member engagement sub-team has worked really hard on this to think about a way to bring you a program that I hope is really enriching and really fun. So I'm very excited about this. We'll go ahead and open the floor to questions. So if you do have a question about anything you just heard or about something that was missing, please drop that into the Q&A now, and I'll go ahead and start reading those questions. We do have one question in the chat that I think is a good one, though we may not be able to get your answer today, Corey. Corey asks, Corey's in a term position, so his position ends before the end of the member match year will end. Would that disqualify him from participating? His position would end May 2020, so he wouldn't be able to be there for the whole year.
I can jump in and just say, obviously we'll need to chat, but I think there should be a way, and if there's not already a field in the application, we'll add one to indicate that or indicate anything like that, so that hopefully we could match you with someone that is aware and going to be maybe someone that is on the communicating somewhat less frequently or something like that. I think there would be a way that we could figure it out, but I'll open it up to the other members to follow up with that.
I think like Jessica said, it may we may have to answer this officially later, but I think you should still apply because personally, I know you have a lot to offer. But I think it's just 1 month. And as long as you are still able to communicate about ArchivesSpace after that month, then I feel fine with that personally. And I also feel like as long as you are a member of ArchivesSpace when you apply, I think it's fine. But we have to get you an official answer just in case.
Yeah, I agree with both Bailey and Brittany, but when in doubt, please just apply and we can see where it goes.
Yeah, just on that note, it's not an arduous application. I don't think we said that, it's like not even 5 minutes, very quick. So hopefully if you do, you're not going to be investing a lot of time in the application if you aren't sure if you'll be able to actually be matched.
We don't have any other questions in the Q&A, but I do know that I've been asked some questions about the program, so I'm giving a little bit of time to see if anyone chats anything in the meantime, because I know that typing can take a minute. But what is the cost, if any? George asked. So we can have a very positive answer for that, George. It's included as part of your membership to ArchivesSpace. So one of the only eligibility requirement is that you be employed by an ArchivesSpace member institution. And if you are, this is just another benefit of membership to ArchivesSpace. And Eric asks, is digital training available?
I'll jump in again. I'm like ready to dive into the questions we don't have answers to. So we hadn't discussed actually training like that is a particular thing that would happen between member matches. But I can speak for myself. If I was matched with someone and they indicated they were interested in learning more about a particular module within ArchivesSpace or something that I do, I know that I would be excited to probably not a formal training, but certainly meet up over Zoom and walk through how we do it at our institution. So I would say, one, it probably depends on what you work out with your match. And then two, I forgot to, but something to do with what I just said.
I'll just say, as digital initiatives librarian where I am, if I was a match with someone who was interested in that kind of stuff, I would be happy to share as much as time allows in the year.
Yeah, I will say that's definitely in the spirit of the program. And when you see the application, I think Bailey mentioned, there is a section where you can indicate your experience within ArchivesSpace, and then also you're able to indicate in another section what sort of match you're looking for. So if a potential, if you were an applicant who had extensive experience with digital objects, and you indicated that you were looking for a more peer-to-peer relationship, well, it sounds like Eric, that would be the perfect person for you. So that's sort of what we're looking to do, is to see where not just level of experience align, but where the desire for like the type of relationship where that aligns. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a mentor-mentee relationship, and it doesn't have to be everyone is on equal ground or everyone knows exactly the same thing. I mean, just be very clear, like Bailey said, in the application about what you are looking for, and the more descriptive you are, the better your match will be. George has asked, can an individual with a personal archive apply, or does one have to be linked to an institution? So this is this is a benefit of membership to ArchivesSpace. So it would be an individual applying if they are associated with an institution that is a member of ArchivesSpace. So George, if you want to email me or email archivespacehome@lyrasis.org, we can talk about that a little bit more, but this is a benefit of membership to ArchivesSpace specifically. Vivian Lee says, thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited at the prospect. That's awesome, Vivian Lee. Thanks. I got a question. Oh, something's in the chat. Oh, from Brittany. All right, Brittany, I think Brittany may have disappeared for a second, but I think she's back now. Welcome back, Brittany. I got an email with a question that I guess I'll go ahead and just ask the group. If I, as an ArchivesSpace user, feel like I don't have a lot of experience with ArchivesSpace at all, I'm new to ArchivesSpace or new to ArchivesSpace membership, should I still apply?
Definitely. Because like we said, you'll be determining the type of relationship you want. So there may be someone who wants to be more of a mentor to help you learn ArchivesSpace. And then part of it is encouraging you to participate in ArchivesSpace activities outside of the member match activities. So doing those trainings, going to workshops, attending forums, so you can get more experience, not just through your match. So definitely apply.
Yeah, I'll just speak personally. I haven't really been involved with the ArchivesSpace community for very long. I started using ArchivesSpace when I got my current job at the American Folk Art Museum in November 2019. And I can say getting involved with ArchivesSpace through different planning committees and going to webinars, speaking with folks, has helped me be a better manager of my ArchivesSpace instance, and has made me feel more comfortable using the various resources that this community provides. So I definitely think this program, even if you're new and you feel like you don't have anything to contribute, you certainly do, but it can also really make you more aware of the various platforms that are available for you to graduate along in your ArchivesSpace journey, maybe much faster than you would have otherwise.
I would also say, like, if you know of others at your institution who may be new to ArchivesSpace or not as involved as you, please encourage them as well. I personally train the people at my institution, so I'm definitely encouraging them to do this. Not so they don't ask me questions, but that they get the workshops, the engagement that they want from ArchivesSpace.
Yeah, I definitely hope that participants don't just create sort of an ArchivesSpace support network amongst themselves, but they also just a general peer network. I hope that you find that your match is rewarding, not just in talking about troubleshooting ArchivesSpace, but I think we all know it's really nice sometimes to be able to talk to fellow archivists or people outside of our institution about things, and we're able to look at problems in a different light. So just like the slide said, it's not just about ArchivesSpace, but you can talk about all things archives. And if you happen to be interested in cooking and gardening and knitting, you may be partnered with Bailey. I mean, it's meant to be a really rewarding program in a lot of different ways. Vivian Lee, Vivian Lee says baking. If you happen to be a person interested in baking, I highly recommend you indicate that, as I think Vivian Lee may be interested in a specific match.
Also pets, please indicate those. You're not required to, but you know, you're allowed to bring your pets to meetings, so.
I've gotten a direct message question. It's another one where I think the answer may be, we'll have to get back to you, but are student workers eligible at an institution, or do you have to be working full-time?
Yeah, I think it's a get back on that one, because I want to say yes, of course, but there may be some technical questions that we need to get answered around that.
It's a good question. All right. Not, George, I'm going to respond to your question separately, but I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A. And we don't want to belabor the point if there aren't any more questions, but I want to make sure people are able to ask questions before we wrap up. Like we said, we're going to use a lot of this feedback that we're getting to tweak the application before we make it available next Wednesday, March 17th. So it is really helpful that some of these questions have given us pause and will require us to think through some things. So I think that's very helpful. So if there's any other questions, please type them in the chat now.
So I don't know if we said this, but we did say that all communication is virtual, but you decide what kind of virtual. So Zoom, Google Meet, email, you can talk on the phone. Don't call me on the phone, but you can do that if you want. So you will determine during that first meeting what kind of communication it is. So just wanted to point that out.
All right. Not seeing any other questions in the chat, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap things up now. Thank you to everyone who attended this info session. This has been really helpful for us. Like we said, the application will open in 1 week from today on March 17th, and applications will close on April 30th. So of course, we'll be putting out a lot of announcements around those dates, so you'll be made aware, but just keep your eyes out for when that application does come available. A recording, this session is being recorded, and I'll put a copy of the recording on the wiki with all of the other documentation related to the member match. So maybe if you can think of a friend who would benefit from this program as well, please feel free to share this recording with them. And of course, you can, just like the slide says, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at any time at archivespacehome@lyrasis.org. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.